everyone, welcome to Merseyside Consultancy Bangladesh. আমি সঞ্জিদা এবং আমার সাথে আছে আমাদের ব্রিটিশ আইএলটিএস ইনস্ট্রাক্টর লরেন।
Hi everyone.
লরেন আমাদেরকে আজকে আইএলটিএস স্পিকিং সেশন পার্ট 2 ক্লাস নেবেন এবং উনি প্রিভিয়াস উইকে আইএলটিএস স্পিকিং সেশন 1 নিয়েছিলেন এবং ওখানে উনি স্পিকিং এর লেক্সিক্যাল রিসোর্স সম্পর্কে বুঝিয়েছিলেন। আজকে উনি আমাদেরকে বুঝাবে ফ্লুয়েন্সি এন্ড কোহেরেন্স। Yes, Lorraine, please tell something for our people.
Yeah. Hello everyone. So as Sanjida just mentioned, this is the second episode, I guess, the second live event in the IELTS speaking series that we're doing. I'm just going to share my screen with you all and show you my slides. Where are we? Window. Great.
Is it morning there?
It is, yes. It is 10 minutes past 10 in the morning here in Edinburgh. Yes, it's not too cold. It's starting to warm up a little bit. And actually, Sanjida, yesterday I heard something wonderful for the first time in a long time. I heard the bird song outside my window. And it made me so happy because that means that springtime is coming. So that was so nice. I listened to the birds singing for a while. It was so lovely. Really nice. Okay, right. So as I mentioned to you all, and I am Lorraine. Hello. And today I will be talking about the part 2 of the speaking exam in the IELTS exam. So let's get started. So just a little recap of a few of the main sort of points that you need to know. I did mention this in my last live, but it's worth repeating. So for many of you, you are interested in taking the IELTS exam so that you can study at university here in the UK. It's really helpful for that. It will help you to develop your academic skills, academic vocabulary, your listening skills and reading. But it's also designed to ascertain, to see if you are ready to join a native English speaking country and to contribute to conversations here. So the speaking section is the same whether you have the general IELTS or the academic IELTS. So listening and speaking sections are the same for both. And that's because whether you are studying in the UK or you're taking the general IELTS for another reason, you still need to be able to communicate with people in English in a friendly, respectful and constructive way. And listening and speaking are essential to that. I always tell my students that because it will really help you to prepare for the exam. I know it's a scary experience having an exam in another language, but if you try to relax, if you try to enjoy it a little bit and just think about it as a conversation just with someone new, with a new friend, and try to relax into it and enjoy the process, it will go a lot better for you. So the speaking exam consists of 3 parts. You've got up to 5 minutes with part 1, just under 4 minutes for part 2, and for part 3, that's the longer turn, and you've got just under 5 minutes there. So the whole thing is done in less than 15 minutes. Okay, part 1. I recommend watching the video that we posted last week about speaking part 1 to just recap for you. Part 1 is just a little warm up. Okay, so it's designed to help you to just confirm your identity and just sort of get more relaxed into these situations. So the examiner will ask you questions about your home, family, work, studies, and interests. Nothing too complicated. Nothing too controversial or anything that requires you to think too deeply. This is just to get you warmed up into the exam. Part 2, and that's what we'll be speaking about today. This is the individual long turn, and the examiner will give you a little card and we'll ask you to talk about the topic on the card. And you've got 1 minute to prepare and up to 2 minutes to speak. Okay. Now, I recommend getting as much practice as you can following these procedures. Okay. So many students, they practice for the speaking section just by having conversations with their friends or by, watching videos online. But it's really important that you get practice with this particular structure, because it's quite an unusual structure, isn't it? You're given 1 minute to prepare an opinion and up to 2 minutes to speak. That's not really the format that most conversations take in English. So it's very specific. And the more you practice with this format, timing yourself, even recording yourself speaking, the more prepared you will be for this part. Okay. Part 3, just to recap then, that's when the examiner asks you more in-depth questions. Okay, so you get to talk in more detail about the topics that you've mentioned in part 2. This is quite interesting and requires a whole different set of fixed phrases and vocabulary for that part, and we'll cover that in a future lesson. Okay, so it's important to keep reminding yourself of the main skills that are assessed in the speaking section of the IELTS exam. The main things they are trying to ascertain are that you can communicate your opinions on information about everyday topics, common experiences and situations by answering a range of questions. Okay, so quick questions and answers back and forth. They're also assessing your ability to speak at length. So not just for 1 sentence or 2 sentences, but to speak, as we've mentioned, up to 2 minutes. Okay, with some help if you need it. Okay, they're checking that you can organize your thoughts coherently. So something that native speakers do, we don't even think about it in our own language, all of us. When we're talking, we are preparing the next thing that we're about to say. And it's a very, it's a subconscious process that we're doing. And it's quite advanced in a language to be able to do that, to focus on not only what you're saying, but to think more generally about the point that you're trying to make and how you are going to get to your point. Okay, and finally, they want to assess your ability to express and justify opinions and to analyze, discuss, and speculate about issues. So we talked about this before, didn't we, Sanjida? Do you have any comments about this? I know it's a very quick overview so far, but any comments, Sanjida, about the information that I've covered so far?
Okay. Sorry, I didn't get you.
Oh, do you have any questions so far, Sanjida? Anything you want to ask me?
That's all right. Okay. No.
Hey,
I understand all this now.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So we'll record it later. That's going to be helpful. Watch the replay. And also in a moment, I'll ask you to get a pencil and paper ready for part 2 that we'll practice today. I really recommend doing that every time you practice part 2. Make your notes. Don't just think about it, write it down. It's going to be really helpful for you. But we will cover a lot of vocabulary in this live today. So a lot of the vocabulary will be included in the free handout that we'll share the link for at the end of the live. So that's including vocabulary and example answers for the top 10 IELTS speaking topics. Okay, that's for part 1. We're looking at part 2 today, but this will still come in very, very handy for you. So in the last live, we looked at lexical resource because we were looking at part 1. And today we're going to look at fluency and coherence. So Sanjida, what do you understand by fluency and coherence? What does that mean?
All right. I understand that while we talk, the fluency, like we don't say, or okay, we don't do like this. We talk fluently. Like, this is Sanjida. I am from Bangladesh, and I work at Merseyside Consultancy, Bangladesh. So this is the fluency.
Yes, lovely.
And coherence is maybe something like something we maintain the sequence, like this part I'm going to tell in the first, and another one I'm going to tell, like, this is Sanjida, I'm introducing myself and I'm saying where I am from, and I, in the next part, I am saying that where do I work. This is the coherence to maintain the sequence.
Yeah. Beautiful job. Yes, you're absolutely right. You don't say, you know, I'm Sanjida, I like cats. I'm a big fan of jazz music. You can say that if you want to, but it's difficult to follow. So yes, I really liked that, to maintain the fluency, maintain the smooth sequence of points that you're making there as well. Excellent job. Lovely. Okay. Also, there's something that comes into this category, and we'll have a look at this at the moment, that's really, really important. Now, many English learners fall into two different categories. One, the first category is those who have a very high filter. So they're really worried about speaking. They, you know, you're worried about making mistakes, so you don't speak very much. Very, very common. Okay. The other way of looking at it is people with a very low filter, and they talk and talk and talk, make lots and lots of mistakes, and it doesn't matter to them. They you know, it's okay, they don't care about making mistakes. Okay, both of those are quite difficult to understand. You know, it's hard to understand someone who's not speaking, and it's hard to understand someone who's talking, making many mistakes, and not really caring about their coherence or the points that they're making. So our aim is to get that filter just sort of halfway, so that we can speak with a couple of mistakes here and there, which is natural, and, you know, try to feel more confident in speaking. Try to start, even if it's a bit scary for you. And the more you practice this way, more your confidence will grow, and the more your fluency and your coherence will improve. Okay, so we'll look at the other two marking criteria in future lessons, but today we're going to look at this one. So, talking at the right speed. Okay, so I'm talking quite quickly today because I'm a native speaker, but I'm talking quite quickly because what I am saying is written on the slides as well. So there's different clues for you there. I'm not speaking at the natural native speaker speed, but I'm speaking quite quickly because many of you guys want to reach band 7 and 8 in the IELTS exam, which is quite advanced. Well, it's very advanced, and you need to prepare for quite quick speech. Okay. I'm connecting ideas together naturally as a native speaker. So your focus in this part of the IELTS exam is to connect your ideas together well. As Sanjida rightly said, you know, you're maintaining a sequence of ideas. Beautiful language there, Sanjida. Relevance of answers. Now, this is really important because when often in an exam, the candidate doesn't answer the question that's being given. They answer the question that they want to hear. Okay, that's not going to get you many points. Okay, if the instructor asks you about an early childhood memory, okay, in part 2, and you don't talk about that, you talk about, you know, something that you did at the weekend, it's not answering the question. Your English might be brilliant, but if you're not answering the question, that shows that your communication skills maybe need some work there, because you're answering what you want to answer instead of what is being said.
Yes.
Okay. And also understand and follow the rules of language at a word, sentence, and text level. That's quite a long one there, isn't it? So that means following the rules of language at word level. Okay, well, that means, you're pronouncing a word clearly, it's used correctly in the sentence, you're looking at subject-verb agreement there. Okay, so you don't say the boys, boys pens, boys writes clearly. Let's say, for example, we need subject-verb agreement there. The boy writes clearly. The boy singular, so we need an S on the end of the verb there. Okay. And on text level, that means word, sentence, and text level. So that's on the whole. In general, you're following the rules of language. These 4 points all constitute fluency and coherence marking criteria. Okay. Here's I've taken a screenshot directly from the marking assessment. So, speaking at length without noticeable effort or loss of coherence. Okay. Demonstrating language-related hesitation at times. It's okay to hesitate occasionally. This is a difficult situation for you. You're in an exam. It's okay to hesitate a little bit, but not, as we mentioned earlier, completely frozen. Okay, you may repeat yourself a little bit or correct yourself a little bit. This is for band 7, remember. So if you're reaching band 8 or 9, you need to have no repetition and no self-correction. Okay, so but for band 7, this is the least that you need to achieve here. Okay, and also that you use a range of connectives and discourse markers with some flexibility. We looked at this in the first part of this series before about connecting phrases, conjunctions, and other discourse markers as well. So remember, this is a conversation. You can say things like, oh, that's a great question, or, oh, I don't think I've thought about that before. Let me consider, that's more part 1, part 3. In part 2, you have time to prepare. So you won't need to say things like, oh, that's a great question, but you can use other connectives there as well, like to begin with, this happened, and that leads me on to my third point. Okay, things like that which show your coherence in your answer. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Part 2. I know I've gone through them quite quickly, and that's because a lot of the things I've mentioned already, I've already mentioned in the previous live event. So don't want to go over it all again too much. So go and watch that live event and make sure that you understand the points that I've made. So now we're going to focus on part 2. So this is new information now. Part 2 is the individual long term. The examiner gives the candidate a task card which asks the candidate to talk about a particular topic and includes points to cover in their talk, and instructs the candidate to explain one aspect of the topic. Candidates are given 1 minute to prepare their talk and are given a pencil and paper to make some notes. Then you're given up to 2 minutes to talk. Now, if you're really struggling to speak for a full 2 minutes, don't worry, the examiner can ask you 1 or 2 questions. But it's better to show your independence there and speak. And I'll give you some tips to do that as well today, to cover all of the things that you need to cover and to give yourself time to then go into more detail and fill up that time. Okay, but it's good to know that if you're really struggling, the examiner can ask you 1 or 2 questions, little follow-up questions about what you've spoken about. Now, I mentioned this in the first live, but I'll just say this again. Some students say to me, does my answer need to be true? Well, my answer to that normally is try to find a true example. And the reason being, if the examiner is going to ask you a couple of follow-up questions, but you've just totally made up this answer, it's going to be really difficult for you to think, on your feet and respond to those questions. So try to think of a personal experience. It will come across more natural. It will be generally more, I mean, you know, it's clear when someone's just making up a story in their mind. And it's generally just more enjoyable of an experience, which is, you know, a really good thing. So part 2, they're focusing on your ability to speak at length, remember, okay? And as I just mentioned, you'll need to draw on your own experience. So let's have a look at some vocabulary that's very handy. So in our last live event, we looked at the topic of, well, talking about yourself, talking about your personality, talking about others' personalities as well. Okay, and it's one thing to understand that language, but it's another thing to be able to use that language correctly in a sentence. So here I've created a little exercise to help you think about the use of these very common words. Okay, so one thing to remember is that personality we use in the singular form. Sorry, Sanjida. Say it again. Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah.
Okay, this sounds not great on there, so I couldn't quite catch that, my love. I'll ask you to answer these questions in a second. I'll just explain some main sort of fundamentals to remember here. You know, outside of a medical setting or a psychological setting, humans have one personality, and that personality consists of many traits. Okay, and equally, we have one character, but that is made up of many characteristics. Okay, so we tend to talk about our personality, singular, but our personality traits, plural. Okay, and our character, singular, but our characteristics, plural. Okay, so let's have a go at these exercises then. Sanjida, I'll need you to be my student. Let's take a look at number 1. Can you tell me which is the correct answer?
Okay. First one, shyness is one of my traits.
Lovely, very good. Because you only have one personality, hopefully. So traits would be the right answer there. Excellent. Number 2.
Confidence is not a part of my characteristics.
So here, a part of my...
Sorry, it's going to be character.
Character, lovely. We're talking about the singular form there. But if we said one of my, that would work. Confidence is not one of my characteristics, but here, a part of my character.
A part, yeah.
Lovely. Number 3.
Number 3. In one word, I could describe my personality as optimistic.
Well done, lovely. And we've got lots more vocabulary in that other live event as well. So I recommend taking a look at that for anyone who's watching this on a replay.
Yes.
Okay. Number 4.
One of the traits I admire most is honesty.
Lovely. Just pause a second there to say one of the, when we use this phrase, we need the plural form of the noun there. So having S on the end if it's a regular noun. That's a lovely job. Well done, Sanjida. And number 5.
Thank you. Number 5, my 3 main characteristics are bluntness, loyalty, and enthusiasm.
Lovely job. Okay, really great pronunciation there. Just want to focus on this word a little more. Enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm.
Very good. Well done. Lovely. That's a tough word, that one. Okay, so just to remind you of another one of my main pieces of advice for you is when you're answering these questions, try to choose words that you can pronounce. It's great to use advanced vocabulary, but quite often there are different options. You can think of a variation on a word that you can't pronounce very clearly, but you did a wonderful job there, Sanjida. As I mentioned to you in the last live, tricky words that you really like and you really want to use them, all you need to do is just repeat them again and again and again. So listen to the recording, either in on Google. You can Google the word and play the word, listen to it, or listen to an example of maybe a native speaker or a near native speaker saying that word, and then just drill and repeat, and you will get there. Okay. So here are the answers there. So if anyone wants to take a screenshot, they can do that now. Okay, so moving on.
Yeah.
Sorry, did you have a question there, Sanjida?
No, I was just trying to pronounce this one. Enthusiasm. Is it
Lovely, yeah. Yeah, it's the emphasis is on thew. So it's enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm.
Beautiful. Excellent job. All right.
Enthusiasm. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Lovely. Okay, so here's an example question. Sorry, there's a little delay on the line. Didn't mean to interrupt you there. So here's an example question from part 2. You can start to see the layout here as well. Tell me about a childhood or early adult experience that influenced the person you have become. You should say what happened, when it happened, where it happened, and explain how it affected your character. So we're looking for childhood or early adult experience. So anything from the age of, well, as old as you can remember things, to teenager age, 13, 14, 15. It's not super specific, but it doesn't mean last weekend. It doesn't mean this summer. Yeah, it doesn't mean last month. You need to be at least 16 years old to do the IELTS exam. So maybe it does mean those things, but it's looking for a memory, looking for a past experience there.
Yes.
Okay. So how do we do that? As I mentioned to you earlier, we need a little piece of paper. Your examiner gives you a little piece of paper. Okay. And I'm showing you this here because I recommend practicing it this way every single time you do part 2 practice. Okay. So let's look at the question. What happened? When it happened? Where it happened? And explain how it affected your character. Okay, so you don't need to write these words what, when, where, and how. You'll have the text card with the question on it. Okay, so you just need to write down these words to explain. Sometimes students get into a little bit of trouble because they're thinking to themselves, what happened, when it happened, where it happened, but then they think about how it happened. Okay, but actually the last one is normally a bit in depth, how it affected your character or how it influences who you are today. Okay, so we're not just talking about the past here, but also connecting it with the present. Okay, so let's have a look at an example here. I would give you an example based on an early childhood experience that I had. I would write down the words. So what happened? Dancers. When it happened? Okay, I was 10 years old. Where it happened? School. And how it affected my character? Well, passion for dancing. You'll notice there I'm not writing full sentences. Don't write full sentences because that's going to take up your whole 1 minute. Okay, you just need something to jog your memory, something to help you to remember what each point is going to cover. Okay, so 1 or 2 words, 3 maximum. This is quite an interesting format as well. 1 word, 1 or a number, 1 word, and then longer there, because in your last question you're going to speak for longer, so you can write a little bit more there. It also means, if you've got 1 full minute to prepare, you might have a little bit more time then to prepare that last thing. Okay, but just have a think, organize your ideas coherently, maybe have a think about some, fluency markers, some connectors there that you can use. You're preparing not just your story, but also how you're going to deliver that story. Okay. And then as you're answering, you go down each one and move your pencil down each one as you're answering. Okay, so we'll start with the first one. Dancers. Okay, I might say one of the most influential childhood or early adult experiences that comes to mind is the day I met some professional dancers who were on tour. Okay, I haven't yet said where and when this happened. Yeah, I'm just telling them what happened. I met some professional dancers. Okay. I was in year 6 at the time. I'm British, so our year 6 at school is when you're 10 years old. Okay. So I was in year 6 at the time, so I would have been about 10 years old. Okay. Very brief answers so far, aren't they? But that's because I'm moving down slowly with my answers. Okay. There will be time to give more information.
Yeah.
As I'm moving my hand down, I could say the dancers were performing at schools around the country, and it was the most exciting thing to happen at my school that year. I've used the word school a couple of times. Move my hand down. I know I've covered that one there. So far, in 4 sentences, maximum 5 sentences, I have answered 1, 2, 3 of the points. Yeah. And then I can then move on to the last point, which would be passion for dancing. So I would then say this experience influenced the person I have become because it was the moment that my passion for dancing began. Okay. So I'm really building this up into a bit of a story here, but you've noticed I've probably not even used about a whole minute yet. I've probably only been speaking for like 30 seconds, maybe a bit more. Okay, so I could say a little bit more in each point so far, but I'm saving it for the last bit. Okay. As you move on, this will give you a whole minute or more to talk about this experience. Now, remember, I'll just actually go back to the question. Tell me about an early childhood, about a childhood or early adult experience that influenced the person you have become. So there's 2 really important things here: the experience and how it's affected you, how it's influenced you, how it's affected your character. Okay, so when I'm giving you the answer here, I've given you all of the other 4 points there, and now I've got some extra time to tell you more information about it. So I could say, I've loved dancing from that moment on. I wanted to be a dancer more than anything. I started taking dancing lessons and I wasn't a natural, but I practiced every day, no matter how tired I was. I think that's how I learned the value of perseverance. Practice makes perfect. Okay, so now you're tying that moment in with the present time and your personality. Okay. You probably have a little bit more time left, so the examiner might ask you some follow-up questions. That's great. If you've talked about a really formative experience for you, you'll probably want to, give more information to the examiner, right? So here's your turn now. Let's have a go at a slightly different but related question. Describe a happy childhood memory. You should say when it happened, who was involved, how you felt, and explain why you remember that particular moment. Okay, so if you've got a piece of paper there and a pencil, you should be writing down 4 bullet points right now. Okay, we're going to cover when, who, how, and how it felt. Not how it happened, but how it felt. And why. Okay, tying it back into now. Why you remember this particular moment. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're watching this on the replay, you can pause this video now and give yourself 1 minute to prepare. Okay. So, Sanjida, do you have any ideas of what you're going to say? How would you tackle this question?
Yes. Someone is asking, is it necessary to answer all of these questions?
Yes. Yes, it is. And if you are practicing correctly, you will be able to cover these clearly. You'll be able to move your hands down as you're covering each one, and then you'll have time left to go into more detail. That's a really good question, Fatima. Thank you for asking. Yes. Always cover them. There's only 4 there, and you've got 2 whole minutes to speak. So you should be able to answer them. But remember, it's asking for your ability to have a conversation with someone, right? When you're having a conversation with someone, if they ask you a question and you just kind of ignore part of it, that's not really amazing communication skills there. You're welcome, Fatima. Thanks for asking. But yes, cover all of those areas. And in your 1 minute, if you start to prepare an answer and you realize, I don't know when it happened, or I don't know where it happened, you can either just sort of add that information in or just choose something else quickly. But if you are the type of person who maybe is a bit indecisive, and you tend to make a decision and then change your mind several times, okay, just stick with the first one. Don't overanalyze it, but you can say something like, I can't remember exactly how old I was when this happened, but I feel like I was maybe 10 or 11. You know, you're trying to answer it then. Don't overthink that part there. But yes, answer all 4 areas. Okay, so Sanjida, I'm going to put the question back up on the screen. Do you want to have a go?
This one?
Yeah. Describe a happy childhood memory. You should say when it happened, who was involved, how you felt, and explain why you remember it. Okay. Can you give me one word about when it happened?
When it happened, so I can say that when I was 16 years old.
Okay, great. 16. I'm just going to write down the number 16. We don't need to add any more than that. That's when. Okay, good. And who was involved? Who were you with when this happened? Was it just you?
I want to say that my mom was involved with this.
Okay, lovely. So just write mum. So that's the British English mum. M-U-M. I'm putting this in the comments here. Of course, American English people spell it M-O-M. But it's fine. It's just for you. Nobody needs to see this. It's just for your notes. Okay. Yeah. Then think about how it felt. Can you think about some lovely adjectives to describe your emotions on that day?
I was really excited because that was the moment when my mom gave me something really precious, and first time I bought a guitar.
Aha, wonderful. So I heard the word excited, and that was the first time you... What came after that? What was the next thing you said?
I said that was precious, and first time I got a guitar.
Okay, right. I think the word is precious there. Precious. Good, lovely. 2 great words there.
Excited and precious. Yeah.
Yes. And explain why you're thinking about that memory there. Now, this one's the 4th one, so you can really go into more information in your answer. But just for the purposes of your notes here, can you explain why you're thinking about that? So you mentioned
I say that this was my best gift ever, and that was the first thing.
So what would you write there then? First.
Sorry?
What would you write down on your notes first?
First, I really would like to write, because that was my first experience to learn guitar and to know about something musical instrument for the first time.
Okay.
Experience.
There we go. That's the one I'm looking for. Lovely. So in this short text here, first musical experience.
Yes.
Okay. You're making it easier for yourself when you get to this part to go, oh yes, I remember what I planned now. First musical experience. Lovely job, Sanjida.
Thank you.
Okay. And now you'll have 2 minutes to answer. So you've got your notes here. You can move your hand down as you go past each one. Okay. Do you want to have a go at this one, Sanjida?
Sorry.
Do you want to answer?
Yeah, sure. Describe a happy childhood memory, you should say. Do I need to repeat the previous one or next?
Don't need to repeat the question, no, but have a go at answering. Now that we've planned that you're going to talk about something that happened when you were 16 involving your mum, you felt excited, it was a precious moment, and it was your first musical experience. Now you've got those notes, you can go ahead and answer. I'm going to reset the timer to 2 minutes here. So, but you know, just have a go, see what you can do, and let me know if you have any questions. Okay.
All right. So should I start now?
Yeah, go ahead.
So when I was 16, this is Sanjida, and when I was 16 years old, I have completed my school, and my mom thought to give me a very precious gift to learn musical, to learn something different, something creative, and I was really excited for this, and I was happy to get this, and I started my musical class, and I learned how to play guitar.
Lovely. Okay, so that was 46 seconds, so that's perfect. You've now got more than a minute to talk about this experience. So hopefully you've got a bit more that you can talk about, you talk about maybe a little bit more about the context of the situation, like you've just finished school, so you're...
Yeah, I told you before that while speaking, I'm very good at speaking, but if someone asks me something, I really get nervous. And you told me to practice more and more, and that's what I'm working.
Well, Sanjida, you are not alone, and this is going to be super helpful for all the people watching who also experience this feeling. This is super, super common. People think, I'm great at conversation in English. I can talk to anybody. But when I have to start answering an exam question, I can't think of the words. Well, you've done a great job with the first 45 seconds there. Now you've got extra time to talk more about it. Remember what we said. You're having a conversation with someone. They're just a friend you haven't met before. It's you can enjoy that conversation. Maybe that person also loves music, right? Imagine that they are also a musical person. Or maybe that person knows what it feels like to leave school at the age of 16 and to be free, right? So have that conversation with them, like just on a one-to-one level. Okay, what else can you say there?
Okay, all right. So I can say that I was really excited because that was my first time learning musical instruments or musical experience. That was my first time, and I really was excited. I learned so many sharps. It's called G sharp, C sharp, F sharp, and I used to practice it every day after my class. And I really made some tune by myself that I practiced a lot, and I learned it for 3 months or more than this after I had to enroll into my A level, and then I started focusing on my study. And then after I used to practice a little bit, but not that much as I did before. But that's all right. I loved my music, and I started to learning kimba, the new one. It's made of it's something we have to play with using 2 hands and thumbs. These 2 thumbs we have to play. And then nowadays I'm fascinated about ukulele.
Okay. So you went over the 2 minutes there, but lovely. Okay, right, great. So this here was what I'm talking about. When you are able to have a conversation with someone. That's great. You're expressing your passion there. That's what I'm looking for, Sanjida. Very good. Okay, some good points about that were that you started to use some different vocabulary. You were talking about chords. You gave some of them. You were talking about your priorities at school. That was a formative age. Things changed. You left school before you had to start your studies. You had a few months where you could do something beautiful like play a musical instrument. Great. You even gave the name of the next musical instrument that you played and explained how to play it. Okay.
Yes.
Some areas for improvement would be, as I'm sure you felt like, I've got this time to fill now. I'm gonna speak and speak and speak. But that's okay. That's better than not speaking at all. Okay. So by all means, carry on doing that. And I've really put you on the spot with this today, but you did a great, great job. So one area for improvement could be, obviously, I didn't give you a full 1 minute to prepare either. So your area for improvement could be, right, take 1 minute, think about it. And then when you are giving your answer, give each sentence a point, and then at the end of the sentence, stop. Yeah, then move on to the next sentence. Make sure it's got a point and then stop. Okay, that will help you to be more succinct. So that means to express yourself briefly and clearly. Okay, so great. You expressed yourself, you used a range of vocabulary, but in order to get that band 7, band 8, we need to avoid repetition. Yeah. And, keep it really nice and concise. Okay. So wonderful job, Sanjida. Wonderful job. Okay. I really liked your use of verb tenses there as well. I had completed school. So we're using the past perfect there to describe this situation in the past. That shows more advanced grammar skills as well. Really good. All right, so I'll just finish off today then. Obviously, people at home can work on their own, work on their own answers to this question. There are many, 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 many free exercises online, many of them. So have a go, but always with part 2. Write down your notes, write your bullet points, write 1 or 2 words for each bullet point, and then when you're answering, move your finger down the page, okay, or cross it out if you want to. Okay.
I have to practice more.
We all have to practice more. Remember, practice makes perfect.
Yes, because as I told you that you also have seen that I talk properly, but while giving any answer, I become very nervous. I don't know.
So yeah, there was a little bit of repetition and self-correction there, wasn't there? Definitely. And it was obviously you're live on the internet here with very little preparation. So, this is also a bit of a scary situation, but you did very well. You spoke at length. There was a little bit of noticeable effort there, but of course, because, this is a scary prospect. Some might think scarier than the exam. So you did very, very well. You used a range of discourse markers, and there was another thing there. So you were talking about writing tunes by yourself in your answer there as well. So you were connecting it with time. You were talking about this period in the summer before your studies begin again. So, time sequences there were very good. So yeah, practice makes perfect, Sanjida. You're doing very well.
Yeah, I will do. All right.
Well, that's what we're here for. And I'm sure you helped everyone that's going to watch this as well, because they probably would, if you answer a certain way, it's very likely other people would answer that way, and they're learning from this experience as well. So excellent job. I'm sure they're very grateful for you and your time, Sanjida. All right, so that's it for me today. So my fellow intrepid English teachers and I will be back again soon. So tune in and please watch the replay and let me know if you've got any questions. So yeah, thanks everybody.
Thank you, Lorraine. সবাইকে অনেক অনেক ধন্যবাদ। লরেন আমাদেরকে স্পিকিং এর যে 4টি পার্ট আছে তার মধ্যে আজকে ফ্লুয়েন্সি এবং কোহেরেন্স সম্পর্কে জানিয়েছেন এবং আশা করি আপনারা এই সেশনটি থেকে আপনাদের যত কিছু জানার আছে এবং যা কিছু জানার প্রয়োজন ছিল সবকিছু জানতে পেরেছেন। যদি আপনারা এই সেশনটি আবারও দেখতে চান, আপনারা আমাদের মার্চিসাইড কনসালটেন্সি বাংলাদেশের ইউটিউব চ্যানেলে এই পর্বটি পাবেন এবং অবশ্যই আমাদের পেজেও এই পর্বটি পাবেন। সুতরাং আপনাদের যদি এই সেশন নিয়ে কোনো ধরনের প্রশ্ন থাকে, আপনারা আমাদের কমেন্ট সেকশনে প্রশ্নগুলো করতে পারেন। সেই ক্ষেত্রে লরেন সাহায্য করবে আপনাদেরকে প্রশ্নগুলোর উত্তর দেওয়ার এবং আমি চেষ্টা করব বাংলায় ট্রান্সলেট করার। আশা করছি এই ক্লাসটি থেকে আপনারা যথেষ্ট কিছু জানতে পেরেছেন এবং পরবর্তী সেশনে আমরা আবার স্পিকিং ক্লাস, থার্ড সেশনে আমরা আবার লরেনের সাথে ক্লাস করতে আসবো। এ পর্যন্ত সবাই ভালো থাকবেন। দেখা হবে আমাদের আগামী সেশনে, যেটা হবে বৃহস্পতিবার ঠিক বিকাল 4টায়। Thank you so much, Lorraine. I told them if they want to know anything or if they have any queries on this session, they can comment us and you will try to answer them.
Absolutely. It's been my pleasure, Sanjida. So I'll see you again on Thursday.
See you again. Till then, stay safe.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.